Hi. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's NJBIA Business Growth Roundtable. Anthony, catch us up on what's going on at NJBIA these days.
You got it, Donna. First, I want to give a shout out this morning to Betty, our own Betty Boris, our Chief Member Strategy Officer. She recently made South Jersey Biz Magazine Women to Watch in 2024. So we're very proud of her and so well deserved. She is amazing. Also, please keep in mind this week we are having a Insights and Outlook event on artificial intelligence and its impact on business. It's taking place on March 14th at Galloping Hill Golf Course, 8:30 in the morning. I will put the link in the chat for you to review. Please register and come check it out. And with that being said, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining New Jersey Business Industry Association's Business Growth Roundtable. We at NJBI are thrilled to help create this event with such an amazing team of women. For those of you new to NJBIA, we are the nation's largest statewide business association representing 1/4 of all New Jersey employees. We offer customer development opportunities with visibility through our events, our magazine ads, and our podcasts and TV shows. And we also have money-saving discounts on business programs such as, so you're probably paying for already, but payroll, healthcare initiatives, training, 401k solutions, and 24 hours HR support. I'm Anthony Arena. I'm one of the executives here in sponsorship and sales team, on the sponsorship and sales team. I'll drop my information in the chat. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. And with that said, I am going to turn it over to the fantastic Vicky Hart at Paradigm Marketing. So everyone enjoy.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony. And I always love the adjectives you pick. Thank you. And congratulations to you, Betty. Well deserved. I am Vicky Hart, Director of Client Engagement at Paradigm Marketing and Design. We are an award-winning strategic agency, and we specialize in working with businesses with a complex sale, making sales teams more efficient. Now, how do we do that? We do that through websites that are marketing tools, strategy to drive conversions, and sales and marketing automation to create efficiencies. So if you're looking to grow and scale your business or put a purpose into your lead flow, let's have a conversation. Now, when we talk about the collaboration that we do with NJBIA and the topic of this today, I am delighted that we can't do this without our sponsors. And I'm delighted to spotlight Kim Luthi. We want to thank Kim, who is the Director of Wealth Planning at Synthesis Wealth Planning in Morristown. Kim is a strong advocate for her clients, helping them understand where they are and where they're going, and helping them determine if they're on the right path to financial independence. Amen to that. The world, as she says, is always changing. Our family, our career, tax laws, product and planning opportunities are always evolving. So as your personal CFO, I love that, she helps find clarity in a confusing world. Kim takes her clients through a process that helps them know the next best steps in providing her clients with peace of mind. And who could not use a little peace of mind? As Kim celebrates her 35th, which I cannot even understand, her 35th year as advisor, she is always saying how grateful she is for all the lives she gets to touch, making a difference with her clients. One of the ways that Kim gets to give back to her network and to her people is through the Vision Network. She's the founder of the Vision Network. And if you have not had the opportunity, it's a wonderful way to connect. Her next Vision Network is on April 11th. And you can go to Kim's website to get some information. So mark your calendars, April 11th. It's about vision boards, seeing the future, and building a path to get there. So thank you so much for your support, Kim. And the next person I would like to thank is the unstoppable Cal Thomas. Now, what can I say about Cal and Sandler training? I can't say enough. First of all, I'm very excited. I'm going to the Sandler Summit down in Florida in a couple of days. So I will have a full Sandler situation happening. But Sandler, it has been amazing. Me and my team are trained in Sandler, and it has taken our close rate from 40 to 70. That's right, 40 to 70%. So last year I kicked off with the Sandler refresher. And let me tell you, it was an amazing way to kick off the new year. So if you are looking for success in your business, definitely reach out to our friend Cal. Cal will drop his link into the chat. And then for next month, I am delighted to announce that our next Business Growth Roundtable will be Streetwise to Saleswise. I dig this title a lot. Be objection proof and beat the sales blues. Anybody in sales can totally appreciate that. So mark your calendars. It is Tuesday, April 9th at 12, same place, same bat channel, and we look forward to seeing you. Next, I'm going to pass the baton off to my friend, Donna Miller. Donna?
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Anthony. And I just have to say that Jeff Wise, who's going to be with us in April, co-wrote Streetwise to Saleswise with Bob Berg, who you may recall was on the show last year. And he wrote a little book that we find pretty impactful, which is called The Go-Giver. So this is another collaboration, a theme you're going to hear a lot about today. So I'm Donna Miller. I am Chief Visionary Officer at C3 Workplace and founder of Donna Miller Business Growth Consulting. For almost 30 years, it'll be 30 years this year, we have been helping companies to accelerate their growth by providing support and advisory services around operations, business development, and finance. We allow growing teams and business owners to work smarter by focusing on that which truly drives their business forward. Our clients know that by bringing us in to build systems that are efficient, connected, and executable by us or them, they're laying the foundation for a company that can grow without them involved in every little detail. We call that self-scaling. And if you'd like to know more, you can connect with me, or you'll see Kelly Lauro, our senior account manager, moderating Q&A at the end of our panel discussion today. So before I bring up our panelists, a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording. We will allow time at the end of the discussion for Q&A, and we will ask you to put your questions into the Q&A feature on this Zoom meeting, because with our large Business Growth Roundtable meetings, that chat gets a little unwieldy, but we would like you to use that chat to introduce yourself and virtually network with your fellow participants here. You're already starting with something in common. You're interested in the topic. So get to know each other and use the chat window for that. So with that, let me bring to the stage, well, my partner in this particular brand of crime, which would be Rachel Durkin, president and founder of Paradigm Marketing and Design, and Betty Boros, who Anthony mentioned is the Chief Member Strategy Officer at NJBIA. And let me also bring Randy Stoddard, who is Chief Marketing Officer and Vice President at Delta Dental. So I thank you all for being here today to have this conversation. So the title of our little panel discussion for today is The Power of Strategic Partnerships, Unlocking Synergy and Growth. And I have to tell you that this is a topic that is very near and dear to me, both from a values perspective and how I have built my platform. I opened under one brand, and about 12 years ago, I rebranded to C3, and the C3 stands for Connect, Collaborate, Community. I firmly believe that working in harmony is the kinder, gentler, faster, smarter way to get to where it is you're trying to go. And so, as some of you may have heard me say, I will get a 8:30 p.m. text from the famous Rachel Durkin saying, Donna, I have an idea.
It's usually 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic.
And my response is usually a couple of expletives and then, okay, let's talk about it. And then we end up, here we are in our fourth year of the Business Growth Roundtable. So this is a great example of collaboration and strategic partnership. But what I'd like to do with this conversation is, because we know we have a mixed audience and we want you to get the most value out of this conversation, we're basically going to talk about three different things. We're going to talk about the foundations of strategic partnerships. We're going to talk about what it looks like to walk in partnership and what those best practices might be. And equally important, we're going to talk about how do you measure success, because it can't just be about feeling good about what you're doing. So, Rachel, you and I are here because of a strategic partnership. Talk to our audience a little bit about finding the right partners. How do you know? How do you assess? How do you know?
Sure. So I think for me, step one was establishing the goals of what I wanted to achieve. So I called you up. This actually started as a result of COVID and a lack of new leads coming in and virtual networking opportunities out in the marketplace. And I knew my motivation was I needed an opportunity to increase our brand exposure in a digital world and to increase our lead flow in a crazy economy at the time. And so I think number one is establishing what you need out of partnership and what you want to accomplish. And then there's three things to look for in a partner. One, do they share your values? Do they have integrity? Are they, I shouldn't say this on camera, but like, don't be a dick. Like, are they nice people to work with? Two, do you trust them? Two, do we have similar goals? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that their goals have to be my goals. But for example, when we approached BIA, to partner with us on the roundtable, I knew BIA's goal was to increase their membership benefits and expand virtual networking at the time when it didn't exist. And our opportunity or our goals were to bring in new leads into our database. And so we each had goals that aligned with the partnership, even though they were different. So do the goals align? And then three, can each partner bring something to the table? Either that be money, resources and time, knowledge. I call it marketing assets. Do you have a marketing list that you can bring to the table? Does everybody have something to add? Because if the partnership is unbalanced, that's when it will fail. So if you can do those three things, you can create a strong partnership.
I completely agree and I understand. And I think also it's funny because when you call me and we talk about partnering together, I have a pretty good marketing head, but I'm, and there are even times where we overlap. Mm-hmm. But I know that one of the things I bring to the table, because you constantly tell me this, is we have systems, we're organized, we know how to do things, we know how to dot the I's and cross the T's. And ultimately, those things can help you succeed or they can really drag you down.
And to be clear, you've said no to me in partnerships before, yes. And I said no to you. So if the goal, it's okay to say no, even if you really like someone.
Yeah, 100%. So Betty, you talked a little bit about kind of finding the hidden gems in exploring opportunities. Talk to us, because you probably have to cast a very wide net to come back to where you want to be.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I would have to say, my first step there is really investigating every opportunity. And whenever you engage with new partners, it expands your network, right? It can lead to additional opportunities and collaboration beyond whatever you even thought what the initial discussion was. So, and every time you have one of those discussions, it helps you learn, right? And every time you do that, you hear something about a partner, it's going to give you a deeper understanding of your own environment. So it's about assessing multiple opportunities, making sure you listen, right? And finding them where they may not exist. You can I always think of NJBIA, as a very kind of a stodgy organization. We've been around for a long time. Our foundation is in advocacy. And when you approached us in COVID about this opportunity and the Table for Four that we were doing at the time, something that was very different for us. It was not something we had ever done, but COVID brought us a new space, right? And we needed to take a risk and look at things a different way. So yeah, you have to talk through every run and recognize that there might be small baby steps, but everything can be an opportunity.
Awesome. Totally agree. So Randy, it's funny because we're talking about we've got partnerships that we create because we want to create and we want to build something bigger than 1+1. You've got multiple partnerships across many different platforms, and you've even got, your brokers are managing the client relationship. So that's kind of another level where it's almost a required. So talk to us a little bit about when you're looking at putting your strategic partnerships in place, whether they are for revenue producing, community awareness, or servicing your brokers, what is it that you're looking for? And what are some of the foundations that you run them through from a criteria perspective?
So, by the way, I think Betty and Rachel have pretty much answered this, but I'm going to add a little bit here. So I think, first of all, I'll jump on LinkedIn. I'll see what some of the top people are about, what the company is about. I'll take a look and see as much as I can find, is the organization financially stable? try to think about, is there a way that we will both benefit from the partnership, or is it going to be one-sided? And then I think overall, it depends. There are different kinds of partnerships. So a partnership with a broker, and it could be about revenue, it could be about customer satisfaction. A partner with a sports organization could be about brand awareness, and a partnership with one of our foundation grantees is about delivering on our mission and providing oral health care to as many people as we can who can't afford it.
Got it. Awesome. So let's switch, and Randy, I'll start with you because let's talk about walking in partnership. And again, you have many different types that you're maintaining. What are some of those best practices when you have identified a partner, you're going to move forward? What are the best practices? And also for our audience, some may aspire to partner with you or NJBIA or anyone on this call. How do they go about that? What's the best practices for walking in partnership with Delta Dental?
So I think, aside from the things that we just talked about, identifying partners, is to kind of agree on the objectives up front for the partnership, for both sides. What is it you're trying to achieve? Then agreeing on the action plan with the partnership. What are we going to be doing to achieve that objective? And then lastly, how will we measure the results? How do we know what will will say this is successful? And that also includes figuring out what good looks like, because you may not always know with a partner. And I think those are probably some of the most important foundational aspects. There also is the aspect of just getting to know each other and making sure that your cultures match up, your values match up, and that you're kind of have common ground in terms of what you're looking to achieve in the greater whole of the community.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm sure you do this, and I would imagine that many people in our audience do. But I think it's really important that as you flush all of this out, you talked about culture, Rachel talked about values. I don't think you can have a strategic partnership that those two things are not aligned. But at the same time, I think it's really important to put everything in writing. You might have a great verbal agreement. You might have a great connection. This might be someone that you've worked with before, but I think it's really important that as you're working these strategic partnership, everything's in writing. And, Rachel, you talk a lot, obviously, from the marketing perspective. Talk to us about shared target market and how you walk through that together.
Yeah, I mean, at least in the partnerships I've been in, the goal is usually to increase ultimately increase revenue or new business and decrease costs. That's my ultimate goal in most cases. Other people have different goals. But in order to do that, it's really important that the partners I work with have a similar target audience. We're going, not competitors. So Don and you and I have similar target audiences, but we don't necessarily compete with each other. We might overlap, but we don't compete. We even refer each other. So finding a partner that has alignment in wanting to reach the same people, I think is really important. The other thing that I would say is to go off of what Randy was saying is clear expectations and accountability. So putting it in writing, but having that conversation up front. And I even, I had this happen twice where a partner wasn't doing what they said they were going to do, and having those conversations quickly. Remember, this is a professional business arrangement, but also we want to build trust. And so having those open conversations of expectations, I think, is really important.
Agreed. Betty, you talked about, bringing in partners is not a sign of weakness. I completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, I think, sometimes taking partnerships can feel like a risk, especially if it's taking you outside your lane, something you've never done before. But no, it's not a sign of weakness. I think it's more about demonstrating strength and foresight, right? Being able to take that risk and look forward to what it might bring. And again, it brings you additional resources and expertise and an increased network. So it can definitely accelerate your growth. So no, you have to be brave to get into a partnership and investigate them.
Yes, and I think you have to do your homework. And as I often say, how you prospect is how you do business. So as you approach potential strategic partners, how you walk in that space is going to tell them how you're going to walk in this partnership, and that's super important. We as an organization, C3 Workplace, before COVID, we did a small business week celebration, and we got clearer and clearer about what we were doing with that event in conjunction with the Small Business Administration celebrating nationally. This is our market. So we brought together people to give them a day of education and inspiration. And by the last year that we did it before COVID, we had actually created sponsorship packages, and we had monetized, offset the cost, because for those of you who've ever done large events, they take man hours like you cannot believe. Mm-hmm. So the dollars that we were able to monetize helped to offset the cost, but it very much elevated our reach. And that's, to me, what strategic partnerships tend to be about more than anything else is, how can you make 1 + 1 = 10? Well, that's in a combined reach. So, with this particular program, it's my resources, Rachel's resources, NJBIA, and then we take those sponsorship dollars and use them to advertise, to expand our reach. So I think you have to have a formula. You have to consistently be measuring it. So let's kind of flip to measuring, because it's super important. And I'd love for each of you, especially you, Randy, because you have so many different types of memberships, kind of, if you would be willing to share with the audience almost an end-to-end, how it started and where it began. But talk to me a little bit about measuring success. And Rachel, I'll start with you. And, you and I always talk about KPIs, whether it's with our employees, whether it's your, net promoter score, what is it? So how are you measuring success of strategic partners?
So in everything I do, I measure success in 2 ways: for our clients, for ourselves, every campaign. The first is what everybody knows, direct return on investment. So depending on your sales cycle, that can be measured in 3 months, 6 months, but you can always measure the quality of the leads that come in over time. So constantly looking after every campaign that you run, every partnership event or whatever you're doing, what does the ROI look like? What does the quality of those leads look like? Number 2 is, and this one's a little bit less black and white, is what I call brand assets. We're not Coca-Cola. We're not going to run a Nielsen report of like awareness in California, but I can measure growth in website hits, in social media followings, and email. The holy grail for me is email list growth or CRM growth. I always say that you're renting your web hits in your social, but you own your email. But those are early indicators of awareness of what you're talking about, traction to the site, engagement. So the name of the game in marketing for the B2B marketplace is bring in new blood, new leads to your CRM, and then nurture them over time. On average, it takes 9 to 13 touches to build trust in a brand to convert it towards a sale. And if you're measuring those brand assets early, you're getting indicators in the long game of if you can expect the ROI numbers to come. So watching those often is really important. So, always think about those 2 categories.
100%. Randy, talk to us about how you're measuring success in the different types. You've got community, you've got sports, you've got brokers. There must be different criteria for each.
Yeah, it does. It depends on which piece of the marketing mix we're talking about. So if we're talking about direct response marketing or demand generation, we're measuring paid clicks on paid social, on paid search, and we can track it all the way through from a click to whether someone ended up buying an individual plan from us or a small business plan, for example. We could tell if somebody responded to a postcard that we sent out and bought from us. And the same for an email. We're tracking opens, click-throughs. Did they request a quote? Did they buy? Did they search for a dentist before they bought? All those sorts of things. So that's a lot more straightforward, and a lot more straightforward than it used to be earlier in my career. Digital wasn't as big of a deal. Digital has actually made it better and easier to track and easier to reassess and things like retargeting also via us to keep leads warm and keep people in our funnel. When we get something like sports marketing, it's a little bit harder to measure. Nobody goes to a New Jersey Devils game thinking about buying dental insurance. I mean, except for me. And I wish others did, but unfortunately they don't. But the goal there is to build awareness of our brand, and so that when someone is outside the game, if they decide about it's time, I need to get dental insurance, I need to buy it on my own, I need to select it through my employer, that they'll have Delta Dental top of mind, and they'll have a good feeling in their tummy, I like to say, about our brand, which is brand affinity. And then, in terms of this partnership as well, if you do something like sports marketing and nonprofit grantee things, you really have to be all in and thinking about how you maximize the return on what you're paying for here. And it's beyond measuring impressions, because we know how many people attend the games. We know how many people are on TV who see our digital dashboards. But, beyond that, it's things like working with New Jersey Devils, a foundation, to provide free mouth guards to youth hockey players in New Jersey, and attending and participating in pregame business panels that cover topics from employee retention to sports marketing. And I've been on one of those panels before. And also entertainment. So bringing our customers, our brokers, our businesses to the game, and not just having them be at the game, but working with the Devils to give them an experience that they will never forget, whether it's high five tunnel, high fiving the players, or riding on the Delta Dental fans. So, those are probably some of the key measurements. And we actually go back and take a look and see, how our relationship is with people that we've entertained as well. And that's another, management or measurement criteria.
Awesome. And I think it's often about the ways that we have an expectation when we set these partnerships up. We have a clear path to how we're going to measure success, who's going to do what. But I think that the other thing that's important is, as you go along during the life cycle of these strategic partnerships, is identifying ways to leverage them even more than you originally thought. Betty, you talked about celebrating small wins. Tell me what that's a little bit about.
Yeah, it's funny because so we do, a lot of the same things that Rachel and Randy talked about with our metrics and measuring clicks and responses. And, we have social media goals and email goals and revenue goals, of course, like everyone else. But I think celebrating those small wins regardless, right? It provides that sense of accomplishment. It boosts motivation and morale, when it reinforces, the idea that progress is being made, even if it's incremental. We all started with the partnership, early in COVID, and it has evolved into many other things. So, it's momentum. It's about those small building blocks that let you achieve your larger goals. And I think celebrating milestones and achievements with a team is very important. You met Anthony, he's part of my team. We have, a relatively small sales team, but we work to celebrate every win because they're important. They help us all motivate every day and make sure that we can reach the goals that we ultimately need to reach.
Agreed. And what I think about is, even with this business roundtable, Rachel and I have now spun off a podcast, and Betty and Cal and I, Cal dropped it in the chat. We're working on a leadership program together. But also, when you talk about small things, they're not always small. They might seem small, but you have noticed over the last 6 to 9 months, Rachel and I are bringing our team onto the table. Well, our job as leaders is to raise up other leaders. So where in these strategic partnerships can you use them to achieve some of your internal goals? Do you need to, share the stage and share the expertise? And I think that these are other pieces that come out of strategic partnerships that are valuable. So we've kind of talked about the foundations. We talked about walking in partnership. Randy, what I would love to hear from you is, because you are servicing your broker relationships who, in essence, if I have it right, own the customer relationship to some extent, but you've got all your brand affinity going on. What is that strategic relationship? How does that differ from those ones where you're, sports marketing or helping a nonprofit? That's a whole different game, it would seem to me.
It is. And I consider a broker to be a customer and try to think about their experience just as much as I do our members who are on our plans. So, we have our own account management team. We have our own sales team. Account management manages existing customers. But the brokers tend to be the front door to the customer in many cases. So, and if it's an individual, they can help them shop for a plan. They can help small business apply for a policy. And they can help large companies as well. So, they're really representing our brand to our customers. And they have other options for dental. They have our key competitors. And we pay broker commissions, but so do our other competitors as well. So building those relationships and showing the brokers what's in it for both of us, that if we work together, we can both grow our business and retain customers. It's critical to being successful here. And really, at the end of the day, our goal is to make Delta Dental benefits full proposition as easy and seamless as it can be for brokers who many times are selling a lot of different other types of insurance in addition to.
Awesome. Rachel, talk to us about making it easy. I love what you said, Randy, and I agree. You have to make it easy and simple. So, and all of this, so on a smaller business level, to me, one of the main ways that I measure a strategic partnership is how many referrals am I getting? It's mostly what I'm doing strategic partnerships with, because those referrals are super important to me because my close ratio on a referral is astronomically higher than an internet lead from someone who found me via a Google search. So those referrals are really important to me. And if you were a Sandler student, as I am and Rachel is, you know that we need to make it easy for people to do that for us. So Rachel, in your strategic partnership, when you're outreaching, what are some of those things that make it easier or harder, or how can you make it easier for your potential partners?
So I think the first step, I'm going to answer your question directly, but I want to take a step back for a second. I think the importance of building what I call an ecosystem is critical. So in this partnership right here, we've got, Donna, you and I run the day-to-day of how the Growth Roundtable works. NJBIA gives us the resources that we need, the support, the trust in the brand name, kind of like the Delta Dentist to the Devils. Not that Delta Dentist is not trusted, it very much is, but probably because it hangs out with the devil so much. But the trust in the brand name, the audience behind it, and the resources. And then we've got the sponsors who are, we're putting some of our own money, but we also have the sponsors who are getting a benefit, exposure, and we're using their dollars to expand advertising. So there's 2 sponsors. So that's a party of 5. All of us are spending less money and getting a significant greater reach for the pieces that we're putting into this. What you're putting in, you're getting out tenfold, right? So that's step 1, figuring out whose responsibility is what and being really clear with that. Step 2 is making it stupid easy when it comes to your responsibility. So Paradigm's responsibility is to write the campaign outline for marketing this every month. That's our job. So every month, prior to the next month's event, we have the landing page set up. We outline what the emails can look like. You can certainly change them, but we give you a template. We outline what the social media posts will look like. We give you the artwork, and we share that with all of our partners, all of our panelists, all of our sponsors, and does a couple things. One, it makes your life so much easier just to start marketing it. And then also, if one of your jobs, Donna, in this partnership is to market it, I made it really easy for you. So now I'm getting, I think I was looking at the numbers, like you brought in 35 or 40 registrants. I brought in like 30, BIA brought in like 40, and then we've got the advertising dollars, but we're all benefiting from that outreach, but we're making it as easy as possible.
And let me just interrupt there. And if you don't know this and you're doing webinars, and almost in anything, you can have different links. It's a type of affiliate marketing. So we can measure exactly what's coming from where. We adjust our advertising based on what we see. We might adjust our messaging according to what we see. So yeah, Rachel does a great job of creating this marketing kit that that makes it super easy for everyone to market the event. And I think that's one of those small, simple, but super powerful tricks when it comes to creating strategic partnerships. It's written procedure and protocol. It's templates. It's cut and paste. I mean,
I want to be fair. The first 2 or 3 suck. Not suck. They're harder. And, we just started our rollout with the nonprofit council with BIA. Similar to this roundtable. New partners, new strategy. It's a little bumpy. We only started in January, but then 4 years into this now, it's like I close my eyes and this is done. So to be fair, setting up systems is important, but it's not always easy right away.
well, if it was easy,
everyone would do it.
Everyone would do it. So Betty, talk to us about how you guys are doing this internally, how you're kind of setting yourselves and your partners up for success in how you manage these partnerships.
Sure. So there's a tremendous amount of coordination that happens within our organization. So we sell a lot of things. We do a lot of things. Our biggest issue is we have to be everything to everyone without being everything to everyone. So there are certainly routine meetings that we do routinely, right, to bring everybody in, but there's a tremendous amount of checks and balances that happen along the way. And I have to say that, so we're a hybrid workforce, but we work, most of us are remote. We use Teams like crazy. We interact constantly. So the planning for the next year starts mid-year, the year before. Things are split up, things are organized, and then we measure monthly, if not more frequently throughout the year. But yeah, it's a total team effort. And, I have to say that we probably readjust about quarterly in our team with our outreach, because it has to change with all of the events that we do and all the partnerships that we create.
Absolutely. And the events the events do tend to take on a life of their own.
They do. They do.
Yeah, I get it. So let's look forward a little bit. I spend a fair amount of time these days tinkering with Copilot and ChatGPT and what's laying over CRM. So I'd love to go around our room here and talk a little bit about what you see. Artificial intelligence, we're talking about it all the time. We have panels on it on a regular basis. We're all a little bit, I kind of feel like we're a little bit like the blind leading the blind at the moment. It's exciting, but it's also a little overwhelming. So I'd love to get a sense from each of you what you see the future holding for this type of effort where you're trying to decide who to partner with, you're walking in partnership, how do you measure? What do you think the future is? And I look back and what I think about is what led to my rebrand was I opened under a name that had nothing to do with what I was doing. I often say much of my success was unintentional until I became strategic. But I remember seeing Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins, and I thought, oh my God, that's brilliant. Like it was probably 20 years ago. So we look back to look forward. So I don't know who wants to run with that question. What does the future look like and how do we help our audience to prepare?
So I'll start. I say analytics. We talked a lot about it. Everybody touched on it. It's amazing what we're learning from our data. And every time you have the opportunity to collect it and look at it, you should do that. But also don't think that just because the data is in front of you and you think you know what it says, make sure that you get some outside help to make sure that they're validating or telling you something new about that data. But data is just changing everything, and it's great.
I agree. I've always said I have good instincts, but if you combine good instincts with great data, you're making some really fantastic decisions. Rachel, how about you? What do you think the future holds?
I'm going to jump on the data bandwagon, but I also think using it for research. So being like an understanding audience alignment, understanding goals, understanding opportunities, but also just making life easier. One of the things, now for fun, if you all go follow Paradigm on LinkedIn, some of the videos I do are me in real life. And some of the videos I do are an avatar of me that's talking, and you'll have to guess which one's which and post about it on LinkedIn. But it makes life easy. So I can send out to Donna, or if Donna does an avatar for me on a video, I can then have her say, with her permission, whatever I need her to say. So cross marketing is really easy now, and also terrifying, but really easy. So being able to use AI to make partnership marketing and cross marketing easier is definitely the future, and we're already doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Randy, what do you think?
So first of all, I mean, artificial intelligence isn't new. I mean, it's been around for a while, but what's new is the speed at which it's developing, and a lot of that is driven by things like ChatGPT. But for the healthcare industry, I mean, you see everything from hospitals using it for physicians to take patient notes during the day, so that at the end of the day, it's a much easier job for the physician to review and reconcile and edit those patient notes. And it's an example of, I think a lot of people, the low-hanging fruit is helping to improve administrative processes, whether it's processing things, that sort of thing. That's kind of the low-hanging fruit on AI. Another thing that I'm particularly interested in is customer service, call center, and website intercept surveys, and aggregating, using AI to aggregate comments and feedback from our customers, so that we can take away insights on what are the key items they're facing when they work with us. What are the key issues we need to address?
It is, it's been around for a long time. I guess the newness is how accessible it is to so many of us in so many new ways. And as I kind of look to the future, I think that there are many people that are concerned about artificial intelligence, and I think many of those concerns are valid. I mean, I think it's as big as our smartphones or even the internet. It has just as much capacity for good as for evil. But I think that those of us who are able to use it for those low-hanging fruit type of situations that free us up to do the more strategic initiatives, I think that's where the real value is going to come in. And I mentioned this earlier, I just started tinkering with Copilot, which lays over Office 365. And so automatically, when I have a Teams meeting, it's giving me the high points and the action items and who said they'd do what. I'm not doing anything to achieve that. So I think that we all have to embrace all of this, but kind of to what, Betty said at the very beginning, which is we have to look at every opportunity as a potential opportunity, even if it looks, a little crazy, a little hairy, and a little scary. So before we go to Q&A, and we're going to do that in just a few minutes, so please enter your questions in the Q&A section. I know we had some at registration, and Kelly Laurel will join us shortly to do Q&A. But let's flip it around. Tell our audience about a strategic partnership that did not work out. Who wants to run with that little nugget?
I've definitely had some that haven't worked out. Or I've had some that worked out, like our initial goal was accomplished, but afterwards I was like, I'm never doing that again. And usually that happens when one of two things occurs, at least for me. One, the partner didn't bring to the table what they said they would bring to the table, and so there was a misalignment of responsibilities. Or two, the alignment of the goals was mismatched. You know, there was an error in the beginning where what we thought the goals were not, in fact, everybody's goals. So 1 + 1 was not making 3. So again, making sure that everyone's really clear on the resource, who's going to provide what resources, and the goals is critical to success.
Agreed. Betty, Randy, any lessons learned?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, go ahead, Randy.
I think, you know, what Betty just said, like the truthfulness of the information that you've received at the beginning, and doing your due diligence is very, very important. Yeah, I mean, I think this, Donna, you know, I thought back to my days in the pharma industry, and I had spent a year working on a new product name, packaging, and I got a call that the clinical trial that we were partnering with someone had failed. And so, you know, that really gives you cause to go back and do a post-mortem, which I think you need to do in any partnership that doesn't work out, and figure out, you know, could we have predicted this failure sooner? What were the red flags that we missed? And that, you know, those types of items that you know, and the truthfulness of everything that you've been looking at.
Right, right. Betty, how about you?
Yeah, I'm a couple of things. So, some that have failed, you know, I'll go back to one of Rachel's earlier comments. Sometimes you have to manage your partner. So you might have an agreement, you know, you might have laid all the ground rules, but if you don't manage them, you won't get to where you need to go. So in times where we thought we didn't have to really manage a partner, you know, it didn't work out as well as we had thought. The other time, I won't tell you who it was, but you know, managing expectations. So we're large organizations, and some people think that because we're so big, a partnership can bring instant and remarkable rewards, but a new product can take time to resonate. And you know, we said it earlier, you know, 9 to 13 touches to really get someone to pay attention. So you know, when the reward wasn't big or quick enough, they got a little angry and they left us feeling soured. So yeah, you know, you've got to manage expectations throughout the whole process, and make sure that people are realistic about, you know, what they're going to receive.
Yeah, I agree. I would say, you know, for me, my greatest failures came early on when I got caught up in the partner's enthusiasm, and I allowed the enthusiasm to blind me to the lack of execution. Right. So it really is about execution and like Cal says, process. Okay. So we're going to go to Q&A.
To be clear, I've seen some people putting questions in the chat, but we're not going to be able to see that. So move them over to the Q&A guides if you've got a question.
So yes, I did see some questions in chat. I'm going to touch on the first. I see Lynn gave us 2 questions. So I'm going to put the first one out there. Kelly, do you see those both? I'm going to do the first one and then let you take it from there. So Lynn asked, can you please discuss more about specific strategic partnership contracts?
I'm not sure what about them you want us to discuss, but I treat them like I would any business contract. If I'm sending something out to a client, obviously the fine print's going to be a little bit different, but here are your expectations, and here are my expectations, and here are the expected outcomes. I never do trade. You know, people always say, oh, like, how about you do some marketing for me and I'll do some accounting for you. I never do trade, because inevitably somebody isn't putting the same level of quality in. There's not the same level of commitment. And it's not on purpose. It just happens, you know, when other things become more of a priority. So having really clear outline of like, this is what we're doing and this is what we're getting is really important. And then having everybody sign it.
Yeah, I agree. I think and you know, obviously if it's a broker and there are different situations, but for me, I want to know that everything is in writing, that we all agree to it. I'm more concerned about clear communication and expectations than I am about legalese. That's my personal way I operate.
Well, I would say that working in marketing, a lot of things are not necessarily clear or specific.
We just make stuff up, Randy, right?
How do I make them more specific in the contract? So if the social media posts, how many, when, how often, all that sort of thing, and understanding it exactly. And I think also in a contract, what happens if things don't go right? What happens if the setup takes longer than expected? What are the key milestones? And if either side misses those, is there a penalty? And if so, what is that penalty? And I would say along with that, make sure you understand what the exit
Good.
are. Termination clauses often fall at the end, and not many people pay attention to them, but it's very important. And hopefully they all succeed. You never have to look at it.
Well, good point. Unlikely outcome all the time, but good point. Kelly, what else do we have?
Sure. So we have another question from Lynn, which was, can you suggest some successful executions of strategic partnerships? What do they look like?
I feel to a great extent that's what we've been talking about. So I don't want to belabor the point. I think it's getting clear on who you are, getting clear on who they need to be, getting clear on what this collaboration or strategic partnership will result in, and then monitoring as you go. And I think, like any working relationship, whether it's an employee, whether it's your children, whether it's your spouse, communicate, 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 and listen, listen, listen. That's what I would say.
Would anybody else like to add to that before we move on to another
Well,
question?
if the question is about specific examples, I think the easiest one in the SMB world is like events, for example, something we're doing here. Shared resources to put on an event, shared benefits of the marketing of the event, and shared benefits of the list that comes after the event. Then of course, Randy, I'll let you comment if there's any specific examples of how you pull them together, but cause marketing, great partnership. Randy mentioned affinity marketing, aligning yourself with the brand that makes people feel happy, great partnership opportunity. So depending on what your goals are, you're going to change how you're going to create that partnership.
Awesome. Betty, Randy, anything else to add, or else I'll move on to the next one? Okay, great. So we have another question from Joe that says, if you have to reach most prospects multiple times, so for example, through social, mailings, phone calls, etc., how do you know which vehicle to assign the ROI to?
Great question. I'm just going to
take
smile.
All of them. No.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, all of them.
Oh yeah, so my question would be, does it matter?
Well, I will say that if you have a proper CRM with marketing automation set up, you can usually figure out first click, last click on your site, as well as the number of touches that you've had along the way in an engagement. So in that case, all would matter. You don't want to, most of the time we measure last, like what was the final straw that caused them to convert. But if you can track them in your CRM, of all the touches, that's going to be more impactful, and their flow and their journey.
Yeah, and I would add, it's not the same for everything, right? So we do a lot of different things, right? We have advocacy, we do resources, we do events to engage members and prospects. The best vehicle is different depending on what the subject matter is. So what is, right and perfect for one might not be the same thing for another.
Right, and the tipping point for each prospect is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we use different channels.
Yeah, I would just say, I think it's important to test and learn, and to a testing of different messages, subject lines. We use, testing of subject lines for emails, and you may not necessarily know, to your point, Donna, which item put somebody over the tipping point to buy. Whether it was the one they got before the one they're responding to, you never really know. But there's ways, for us to track everything through paid social search, through email marketing, and know if that person requested a quote or if they not. And hopefully most of the time we can get to whether they bought. But it's the mix of things most of the time that drive a result. You can't say, this one worked, I'm going to eliminate all the other, areas of the market. It doesn't.
Yes, Rachel and I had that conversation many times. Do I really need to be doing all of this? Yes.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you. We have a few more questions. There's one that you've been talking about, but maybe if we get just more specific examples, is how do each of you recommend identifying potential strategic partners that would either complement or enhance your organization's strengths and capabilities? So for people watching, how would you recommend, or how do you do it when you're looking to partner with someone? Like what's sort of going through your head when you're looking at a person, or how do you approach it?
And can we, because this will be our last question. I'd love this to include, what's the one thing you think our audience should take away from today as they, so those of you who've heard me speak, I do not believe knowledge is power. I believe applied knowledge is power. So in this answer, if you could share with our audience what it is you think they should do. So Rachel, why don't you go first?
So I said this earlier, but they have to have a goal that's aligned with the goal that I have. They have to have the resources. They have to have the capabilities. But most importantly, I want it to be people that I align with personally. Like I want to work with them. It's not fun. I want to make this enjoyable. I'm too far in my career to work with people I don't necessarily get along with. So I also want to do people that I really trust working with. So often those personal relationships will turn into friendships, or they'll be, professional friendships that are taken further. But I think that's really important. So if I'm going to say one thing to take away with is get in a partnership with somebody who meets all of those check boxes, because it's not fun. And in fact, it can be painful if they don't meet all of those check boxes. The whole point is to make it easier. So if it's not making it easier, don't do it.
So yeah, I would really just say pretty much similar things I said at the beginning, which is really, how are we both going to benefit? Are we both going to benefit? Are we aligned culturally? That sort of thing. Sometimes if you're evaluating a lot of different opportunities, brevity and focus is a important for me in terms of evaluating them. And I think I'll just say one thing too, organizations like NJBIA are incredible opportunities for identifying partnerships, and people really need to work to maximize the benefits of their membership. There's many different ways that you can meet potential partners, meet potential clients, things. So this is one of those ways, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I would add is, and it goes to Rachel's and Randy's point, don't jump right in. Make sure you understand what's being asked of you, and take the time to think through what you're asking of the partner. Time, talent, and treasure, everything comes into a partnership, and it's important to know what all of those things will bring to you and what you need to bring to your partner.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, I would say, repeating, wrapping up what everyone said, for me, it's about values. If I don't share values with the person, there's just no point in continuing. I think for me, the process of creating strategic partnerships is everything we've said combined with really doing some blocking time to think about it. So I want to think about it on Monday. Who do I need to be? Who do they need to be? What do they need to bring to the table? But I want to walk away from it, and I want to come back to it, and I want to keep percolating on it. And I also, as I'm out in the world doing my thing and networking, part of all of this is bringing the most value you can to the table. for your current clients, for your future clients, for your potential strategic partners. And I think that takes an assimilation of everything we're talking about as you walk in the world. It's like, you really do need to be spinning many plates simultaneously. And this is one of the plates I think we all need to be spinning. So I hope that, my gosh, it's 1:00. I hope that we have equipped you to move forward and step into some strategic partnerships that perhaps you don't currently have in place. I know I speak for myself and everyone else. We're all available. I know we didn't get to all the questions, but we're happy to talk to any of you one-to-one, and you will all receive a recording of this post-event. So anyone have any last words before we close it out? All right. Well, thank you all for your strategic partnership and collaborating with us here today. We wish you a great day, and we will see you next month on the Business Growth Roundtable. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.